It's been a very exhausting couple of weeks, but I can only express my gratitude, most specifically to the Kingdom of Morocco in all its ramifications. We were in Rabat on the 8th of September signing the MOU when the earthquake hit Marrakech. We felt the tremor even in Rabat, but it's a testament to the spirit of Morocco that they bounced back quickly, continued all their plans with support from everyone, but most importantly, with an indomitable will to carry on regardless.
After 3 successful editions, the 4th Africa Investment Forum Market Days is taking place in the city of Marrakech, the 4th largest city in Morocco, whose rich history spans almost 1,000 years. I'm Kenneth Igbomo. I'm the West African Markets Editor at CNBC Africa, and I'll bring you some of the key highlights of this year's Market Days event of the forum, which has built a reputation for bringing landmark transactions in Africa to closure. The theme this year is Unlocking Africa's Value Chains.
A hearty good morning to you all, and grace to you all. On behalf of the founding partners of the African Investment Forum, the African Development Bank, the Africa Export-Import Bank, Africa Finance Corporation, Africa 50, Development Bank on Southern Africa, European Investment Bank, Islamic Development Bank, and the Trade and Development Bank, I am delighted to extend a very warm welcome to you as we gather for this 2023 Africa Investment Forum Market Days. We gather at a time of heightened geopolitical tensions and conflicts around the world, which have led to greater uncertainties and could weaken global economic growth. Yet, in the midst of the challenges, Africa is growing well and showing resilience. African economies witnessed a real GDP growth of 3.8% in 2022, higher than the world average of 3.5%. Yeah, we still need to do more, but our head is above water. 5 of the 6 pre-pandemic top-performing African countries are projected to be back in the league of the world's 10 fastest growing economies for 2023 and 2024. African economies provide some of the best investment opportunities in the world. I am optimistic about Africa. Now, do not believe me for my optimism. Believe the data. Africa's population will reach 2.5 billion by 2050, when the continent will account for 25% of the global population. The New York Times recently affirmed in a headline what we already know, that the world is becoming more African. With a youth population of 477 million people between the age of 15 and 25, Africa will be the key for supplying the global labor force. The size of the food and agriculture market in Africa will be worth $1 trillion by 2030. That's in less than 7 years from now. The African Continental Free Trade Area presents a consolidated market size of $3.4 trillion. The future of electric vehicles in the world depends on Africa. The size of the electric vehicles value chain is estimated to increase from the current $7 trillion to $57 trillion by 2050. That future, as well, depends on Africa. That is because Africa accounts for the largest source of the green metals for the development of electric vehicles, including platinum, 70%, cobalt, 52%, manganese, 46%, bauxite, 25%, and graphite, 21%. An assessment by Bloomberg NEF shows that the cost of manufacturing of lithium-ion precursor batteries in Africa is 3 times less than in the United States, China, and Poland, right here in Africa. Africa, Your Excellencies, has the largest sources of renewable energy sources in the world, including hydro and solar. And right here in Morocco, you have the new Ouarzazate, the largest concentrated solar zone in the world. Well done. Minerals and metals, renewable energy, agriculture, or the labor force that will drive global growth, Africa is where to be. As investors, put your money where the future is. The future is in Africa. Investors should see Africa not from what they hear, but from what the facts say. Moody's Analytics did an analysis of default rates on infrastructure financing globally over the past 14 years. And guess what they found? Africa's default rate is the lowest in the world, 2.1%, compared to Europe, well over 10%, and Asia, well over 8%. So Africa is not as risky as you perceive. Believe the facts. S&P Global in February of this year had a screaming headline: African private equity activity surges to a 5-year high in 2022. Private equity and venture capital in Africa soared year over year to $7.7 billion. The number of deals increased from 211 in 2018 to 404 in 2022, an increase of 91%. The total transaction value also expanded from $4.7 roughly billion in 2018 to roughly $8 billion in 2022, an increase of 66%. So invest in Africa and reap high risk-adjusted returns. The Africa Investment Forum is the place where bankable projects in Africa meet with investors, where investors meet with heads of state and governments in investment boardrooms, where comfort is given to investments, where risks are managed, and where deals are closed. There are many international conferences focused on business opportunities in Africa. No gathering, however, has been more strategic and important in terms of its convening power and capacity to galvanize investment action on the continent than the Africa Investment Forum, Africa's premier investment marketplace. What makes the Africa Investment Forum unique and remarkable is that it is highly innovative and 100% transactional. There is no other global investment forum like it. We develop and curate projects, reduce transaction costs and risks, and accelerate the closure of deals. We also improve the overall business environment within which projects and investments are structured, developed, and delivered. Since the launch of the Africa Investment Forum in 2018 in Johannesburg, South Africa, it has drawn more than 16,500 participants and generated investment interest of nearly $143 billion US. At the 2022 Africa Investment Forum Market Days, the Abidjan-Lagos Highway Corridor was able to secure $15.5 billion of investment interest. This corridor would transform the entire West African region and speed up regional integration and trade. And also last year, Investment interests were secured for $3.6 billion for the East Africa Railway Corridor, linking Tanzania, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Burundi. We are delighted that the Africa Investment Forum has so far closed deals, investment gaps worth $11 billion, ranging from liquefied natural gas, renewable energy, agribusiness, industrial manufacturing, creative industry, housing, and transport. It is time, again, for investment action. It is time to do it again. So let's do it again. As we meet over the next 72 hours, I ask that investors take advantage of the boardrooms to be chaired by the Excellencies heads of state and government. Let's be concrete, let's be bold, and let's be decisive. The boardrooms are well prepared. They showcase investment opportunities across various sectors in Africa. The clock is ticking. The project developers are here. You, the investors, are here. The heads of state and government, our leaders, are here. And the financial institutions are here. So, let the deals begin.
So how can Africa play a larger role in global value chains, accelerate industrial development while driving value addition on the continent? This was the focus of the presidential panel at the forum.
Coming to the topic itself, I think Africa is at the crossroads. And indeed, we have great opportunities. It could be the most favorable destination for foreign investment, but there are serious challenges that need to be surmounted. And that is the function of us leaders, working in collaboration with partners around the world and within Africa to clear the roadblocks that lie ahead of us. There are challenges, but as an eternal optimist, like my brother, the president, Adesina, I see these obstacles as opportunities. And how we leaders can transform these challenges into opportunities is what is most important, and we must get our heads around that. One of the issues mentioned by President Azali is infrastructure. Definitely, in Africa, we have serious infrastructure deficit, which must be tackled now. Some of them are so serious that they are a bottleneck to everything that we should be doing in order to transform our economies.
Having said that, let me say yes, Tanzania is very strategically located at the east of Africa, and we are sharing borders with 8 countries, and so all these 8 countries depends on Tanzania, on transportation of people and goods through various ports of Tanzania. But then before going to the ports, let's say connectivity is the major issue in Africa, and that's a gap we are having. Africa has to invest a lot in connectivity. Talking of connectivity, I once attended a conference in Senegal, and reaching Senegal, I had to go to Paris first, going to Europe and then coming back to Africa. So that's a problem of connectivity in our continent. But in Tanzania, how are we dealing with the connectivity, working with all these 8 neighbors? We are using roads. We have invested a lot in connecting Tanzania with our 8 road accessible countries like Zambia, Mozambique, Malawi, and others who can be accessed by roads. But we are also using water transport, ports. Tanzania has got, say, 7 ports. We have a port of Dar es Salaam, which is a major one, and a main gate to Eastern and Central and Southern Africa. But then we have a port of Tanga, which give access to the northern part of Tanzania, then to the neighboring countries. But we also have Mtwara Port, which is opening the southern corridor of Tanzania and going to Malawi. And then we have the northern corridor. The northern corridor is Tanga, I've mentioned it. But we also have Zanzibar Port, which is an island. You can go everywhere from Zanzibar. But we also have ports in our lakes. We have Mwanza Port in Lake Victoria, as well as Kigoma Port in Lake Tanganyika. And Kigoma can take you to DRC easily. So we are working on all these connectivities. We also have railway networks. Again, the ports are connected to the rail networks. So we have the northern railway, we have the central railway, but we also want to establish the northern one. The central railway, this is the upgrading of the Asian railway, and we are now constructing the standard gauge railway, which will connect the port of Dar es Salaam to Burundi, through DRC, then Rwanda, also Uganda. We are going to be connected with this port. We are also connected by air. Air Tanzania is now transporting people and goods to the neighboring countries and even outside Africa. So that's how we are connected. On abundance of resources, yes, Tanzania is very much gifted. We do have critical minerals for technology-intensive industries. The minerals which the world is looking for nowadays. We do have about 5 of them. Tanzania has got nickel, has got cobalt, we have graphite, we have lithium, we have others. So Tanzania is well gifted with minerals. But again, the energy sources. Tanzania is having gas, we have solar, and we have water, hydropower. So energy sources, Tanzania is very much endowed with energy sources. The only thing now is to invest and make sure we do have enough power for industrialization and other development activities. But we also have an arable land for agriculture. So we are well blessed on the natural resources.
Now, let me certainly, I would echo the words of my sister Sonia earlier, who said that we are neighbors. And we say that do we choose, we don't choose friends, we can choose our friends, we can't choose our brothers and sisters, the Comores, our archipelago of islands, our neighbors, despite the distances, we are close, and therefore she mentioned a key term here, which is political rapprochement. We need development and peace. The two go hand in hand. Political stability, of course, and Tanzania is a great example of this. That we can a model that should inspire us. Indeed, in Tanzania, we've had over 25 years. We had Bogdanah every 4 years. We have regimes that come and go, overturning of regimes. exploited and so on. And then with the example of Tanzania, we've had 5 different political systems, regimes, and we have the 26th of May is our presidential day. Then now, on the 22nd, the 26th of May 2002 was a year. Then, and the 26th of 2006, we had another president. We have presidents that come and go. 26th of May 2011, we invested another president. The 26th of May 2016, then I was overseas. I came back when I was invested. So we an investiture of 2019 of another president again. Inshallah, perhaps 2024 there'll be another president. So we do the best. We are trying to stabilize our country. These institutional changes do not facilitate political stability in our country. And therefore, we need to move forward in the same direction, to embark upon the same road together. We must, and we thank all our partners warmly here who have supported us, because without them, we would not have been able to achieve what we have achieved. The Comorians are want to move forward and not backwards or sideways. With regard to, as we said in 2016, we had an emerging plan, and then up until 2013 and 2018-19, then we made some amendments to our constitution. In 2019, we had new elections. I was re-elected at that time. We relaunched then our 2030 recovery stimulation plan. Then that didn't move forward. We held a conference in Paris where we had a lot of attendees. We held a workshop in 2020 to relaunch this project, stimulation plan, recovery plan, that will take us up to 2013, developing infrastructures. We're moving forward, but to give you some information we have here, we have a fertile soil, limited soil that is fertile, which we are developing. Our soil is porous. Water infiltrates, soaks into the soil, but it's fertile soil nonetheless in our islands. And therefore, we have garden crops, other crops. So we have subsistence crops that we grow and develop, that we export. But to do that, we need we compete obviously with other countries such as Kenya and Tanzania as well. So we have other we have vanilla, we have cloves as well that we grow then as crops. So we want investors, we want to attract investors to help us to create more added value for these crops, for this crop growing land. Young people, anyone else who travels to other countries, could they not come and to our islands, to our countries, and to turn and to help us to improve our economy?
You know, first of all, we should be happy that we used to discuss what you used to call Africa's potential. Now, I am at least happy that we're discussing actions. You know, a forum like this one, where we discuss investment, is something very important. Discussing investment, what needs to be done, because now we know already we know Africa's potential, and we already know our capacity, and we already know our challenges. So I'm very happy that we're not discussing the challenges, we're not discussing the potential, we're discussing actions. But also, as I think I mentioned in a few years ago in the same forum, that as African continent, we know what needs to be done. We should go into action now. And if we don't go into action now, we're losing time. We're wasting our time, so we need to be practical. And what we want to do as African continent is work together, to plan together. And the good thing now is that at least we have a shared vision, Africa 2063. That's something very important, but we need to implement it. And implementing it properly need to have that cohesion, to have that synergy, to work together as a continent. That's very important. The second thing we need to do in a practical way is to de-risk all those risky sectors. We need to work together to de-risk risky sectors in Africa. The president of Tanzania mentioned the connectivity. The connectivity is very important because the connectivity in terms of infrastructure is very key because it facilitates not only the movement of goods, but also the movement of people. We've been talking about South-South cooperation, how African countries can cooperate, can work together. But we cannot work together if there is no movement of people. We need to have, first, skilled people, but we need also to facilitate their movement from a country to another. So we need to go to look for experts in other countries out of Africa, where we have some experts in the same countries and on our continent. But we are not using them, we are not employing them because that movement of people is not there. So the connectivity is very important, facilitating movement of people, planning it together, the risking those risky sectors, and you know them, including agriculture, to facilitate the youth to enter into that sector. But also we need to speak a same voice as a continent. So, and that has started already when we see what is being called now Global South. You can see that the Global South have the same voice now when we're dealing with these global issues. And that's something very important for us as a continent. So what we need to do is just to plan strategically and plan together as a continent and facilitate investment so that we can plan the way we attract our investors from either from Africa or from out of Africa, but we do that strategically together.
For many years, we in the Caribbean spoke about the climate crisis and indicated that we were the canaries in the mine as small island developing states. But we have so failed to act that others have joined, and in particular in this continent, you have felt from droughts to floods to hurricanes, the full impact of the climate crisis. This has given us an opportunity to show how we can work together again, not only on the immediacy of the political actions necessary for the climate crisis, but most important, on the oxygen necessary for development. We cannot choose one issue over the other. And the mistake that is being made is to ask us to choose people over planet or planet over people. In those circumstances, our journey has been similar in terms of the lack of economic diversification, in terms of the exploitation that we faced, in terms of the challenges that we must mount now to be able to lift our people and to allow them to be educated to be the best citizens that they can be, but more importantly than even that as well, giving them the opportunities to be able to benefit from investment and benefit from the prosperity that is possible in our lands. Now, if we are continuously fighting the climate crisis and the consequences of it, it is going to be difficult to raise the quality of life of our people. And that is why we believe that there has to be a unified approach to creating a more level playing field. We have, through collaboration with others, brought to the table the Bridgetown Initiative, which is intended to lower and level the cost of money, of capital, to our countries. We've heard much today about the possibilities that Africa offers with respect to being able to create a just industrial strategy that is appropriate to the greening of our economies in terms of the transitions that we must make going forward, and that will also allow for our young people to be able to be on the cutting edge of where the world must go to protect itself. We face the common difficulties of the global south not being able to access capital at rates that make investments palatable. In Glasgow, everybody talked about the Jet P in South Africa. Where is it today? It's not there today because the cost of capital is simply too high. And we recognize that we pay a premium largely because of foreign exchange risk. Unless we pause to deconstruct many of these things, we're not going to be able to have the bounty that development ought to offer us, while at the same time being able to develop the resilience that we need. It struck me this morning when I spoke to your Minister of Finance and Economy here from Morocco, and I asked her, how are you recovering from the earthquake? Her answer was the one that gave me the greatest pause. We are recovering by you being here and helping to be able to fuel our economy to become more resilient. Because the people who have been affected clearly by the earthquake can only recover through additional economic activity. This is critical. And the issues of connectivity continue to haunt us. If we continue to look north rather than looking east or west, we will continue to be pawns and continue to have others determine our future development. We have been talking for way too long, and we need now to be able to establish those bridges.
As a multi-stakeholder platform, the Africa Investment Forum works with partners to develop a long-term sustainable network of partners to drive the impact of the forum. This year, the spotlight is on 3 key sectors: agriculture, renewable energy, and manufacturing. Now let's hear from some of the partners on their engagements at the forum so far.
You know, in the last 4 years that we've done the Africa Investment Forum, we've been able to mobilize investment interest of over $143 billion. Well, let me just break it down for you, for example, some of the things that are really happening. If you take, for example, one of the big projects we brought in at the first Africa Investment Forum was the $24 billion liquefied natural gas project, which is for Mozambique. That's all done, and that's all going very, very well. We have investment that we actually helped to do with OCP here in financing. We have investment we're doing with the Indorama in Nigeria, this is on the fertilizer sector, and also even Dangote that we are putting there. We have investment that we are doing also for critical energy corridors, projects that we are doing. So these are all going to change Africa from whether it's road, whether it's rail, whether it's ports, whether it is in the manufacturing of fertilizer or in renewable energy. So this is all going to change a lot. And here at the Africa Investment Forum for this year, we're even looking at new things. Transport corridors, for example, major corridors like the Lobito corridor, where the African Development Bank is working with the with the African Finance Corporation, with the U.S. government and with the European Union in building a very vast corridor that will link Angola all the way to DRC and Zambia and open up all the mines that are there to be able to connect in transport of commodities to minerals to through the port in Angola. Or we were able to also secure $15.6 billion for the Lagos-Abidjan highway corridor that will link everything from Abidjan, from Lagos to Cotonou, to Lomé, to Accra, and to Abidjan, which will change everything over there. Or you can take the case of the issue of rail transport. The rail system, which is the East African Rail Corridor, that is now going to be linking the Tanzania to Democratic Republic of Congo and to Burundi. So these are all and many more the types of investments that we are making in the Africa Investment Forum, through the Africa Investment Forum, that would change the opportunities for Africa and help us to better integrate.
Yeah, this kind of forums are actually very, very important for Africa, because it really brings together all the policymakers, the decision makers, and we have seen also at the level of presidents, they are there from Africa, and also MDBs, multilateral development institutions, financial institutions, partners. So it's really very important to see that it is very much selected, I would say, audience who come and attend to tackle challenges, that is facing Africa, and one of them is, of course, unlocking the Africa's value chains. I think this is about time, because Africa today we have seen a lot of really efforts to unlock these value chains and make Africa more prosper through its people, through its projects, through its transactions. In addition to that, we as a group, we have reaffirmed our commitment since we were founder partner of this very important forum. We've been always supportive to the initiatives that comes out of this forum, and I hope that we will continue to do so.
For the last 4 years, we have been talking about the need for structural transformation of the African continent and for us to have more value capture, more value retention in Africa, especially because that is how you create jobs, that's how you grow jobs, improve the quality of jobs over time. And this for us is very important, that we have this convergence and this consensus about the way for us to move forward in Africa. So I'm very glad that everybody has come to accept this, which is why I want us to focus on the why, because it's a long and difficult journey. So if we understand the why we're doing it, then the how becomes easy because we know what we're going to get, at the end of the journey. So really, it's good and topical for us to focus on how to industrialize and unlock Africa's value chain. And we have several examples. We have the first carbon neutral certified industrial zone in Africa. And it's again along value chains, both for agriculture and mining. And we are expanding on that team and we're exporting that to several other jurisdictions. So for us, this is a good day for us. Last time we were in Cote d'Ivoire, we got an award for African champion. Again, it's all around the team for value capture, value retention, and continent. So particularly unlocking Africa's value chains is an important topic. And I want us to focus on the ones that are topical and where I see the need for us to seize the moment, especially as Africans. And it's on the critical minerals, critical metals. So we all know that the electric vehicle industry is $7 trillion opportunity between now and 2030, but it's going to go to over $50 trillion by 2050. And Africa has most of those minerals and metals, in abundance, and we need to seize the moment to develop them responsibly in a way that we allow industrialization to take place. And we need to do that by focusing on the value chains, focusing on the ecosystem, looking at it from the mine to the port, and just to kind of give you an example. So for the container free trade area to take place, we need to have stock of goods that are made in Africa for us to trade. So if we think about increasing, the trade amongst Africans to 10% of GDP, it means that we can grow our GDP, or will have the impact on GDP growth collectively by an approximately 20%. So imagine Africa's GDP growing by 20%. And it is possible. Imagine the amount of jobs that we can create, and we've seen it. So it's really, how do we have more, I would say, pragmatic conversations with governments, to ensure that we have the right policy in place, and to ensure that we can mobilize the capital in place. And I want to focus also on domestic capital, because this whole idea of always seeking foreign capital, it happens eventually, but it will take longer. The earlier, what is within our control is how we can de-risk opportunities for local domestic capital to participate, and on the back of that, we can get foreign capital.
Once again, this Africa Investment Forum is proving to be a transactional forum where we're talking about project deals, moving things forward. Yesterday, I had the honor to co-chair a boardroom jointly with Her Excellency President Samia Suluhu Hassan of Tanzania, and we discussed two specific projects, a railway project and then a port project. Fantastic project with great development impact, but also fantastic expected return on equity for investors. A lot of interest. And just now, I chaired a project that Africa 50 is co-developing with our partner, Power Grid of India, which will be the first power transmission PPP in Africa. Huge amount of interest from lenders, investors. In fact, the project is oversubscribed. That shows that Africa is bankable. Infrastructure in Africa is bankable. There's a lot of interest from investors for well-structured projects, and we were doing the first transmission PPP in Africa in Kenya, but many countries would actually follow and also have approached us to do transmission PPP in their countries.
Unique, parts of this forum, which you have, of course, you have this dealing room or deal rooms where you actually discuss real projects and trying to really look into potential opportunities in Africa. This is more concrete, I guess. And I think this is in addition to the dialogue and discussions that will add a lot of value. Also, my session yesterday, we have seen a lot of experts, a lot of experts who are really providing solutions to how to really unlock these value chains, especially for the agricultural sector, where Africa today, according high priority for the agriculture today, in addition to other sectors. But definitely, we've listened to experts, and we also provided our point of view in terms of how MDBs can really support these initiatives.
The creation of special agro-processing zones is crucial for us if we want to deal with the food challenges we have, if we want to compete in the global market, and if we want to make sure we benefit from the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, because most of the things we import from outside are largely processed food from around the world. Now, for us at Flexing Bank, we have been supporting the emergence of special economic zones and special agro-processing zones since, I would say, 2011, 2012. But by 2016, we expanded it. And what our lessons teach us or taught us is that if you wanted to do this and do it at scale and with speed, you have to take a comprehensive approach as a bank. You cannot just stay as a bank and say, when they bring me project, I finance it. We found that it will not happen. Even if it happens, it will happen with speed. What was happening was that governments were stepping in to try to build those things, and the parks they built most of the time failed because of what I will say shortly. So what we decided to do then was that take a comprehensive view from project preparation to project preparation, investment promotion, project financing, providing financing for companies that will come into those parks, dealing with the issue of testing, and in some cases also supporting the outside defense investments that are required. And the benefit of this is that when you take a comprehensive approach from the perspective of a bank like ours, that's like a development bank, is that you are able to allocate risks and allocate tasks in a way that brings efficiency in the way it is done. The reason the private sector have not been going into these projects, and I believe Gagan Arise will talk about it, is that there are issues about what will the government do when I go. There are so many other issues. There are fiscal concessions that sometimes are required. They take time to do, even to sign concession agreements when you even win a normal process of tender. To go and negotiate and sign that may take you 3 years. There's no business that want to be in that space. So we felt that project preparation and development was important. And we are doing that in partnership with government, not with the private sector. So we went, government will actually give us the land. We go tell them they give us the land.
After 72 hours of deep engagement, now with bated breath, we'll find out the outcomes of the 2023 Africa Investment Forum in Marrakech.
The Africa Investment Forum is truly transactional. And we have seen, to echo the words of His Majesty, that Africa must trust Africa and must continue to believe that we and we alone can solve the problems and others can only join. That is what we have put together on the Africa Investment Forum, and that is a direction we all take today, to focus not on rhetorics and pledges and talks and highfalutin dreams of funds coming in 2020, 2040, 2050, but on transactions of today, of now, and how we can channel funds domestically as well as globally to these transactions, how we can prepare projects, how we can assist in raising capital, how we can accelerate the pace of transactions and closing to ensure that we don't lose value. And this is what is happening today. And we owe all of this. I thank everyone. I thank particularly our event management company who have very seriously worked. And of course, our host, Abdul Malek, who continues to give credit to everyone else and none to himself and his incredible ability to join the dots together at such short notice. But I need to go right back to the optimist in chief, our own President Adesina, who dreams with his eyes wide open and makes him an extremely dangerous man because he doesn't fall asleep with his dreams. He acts them out as he's dreaming them. And it's to his credit that we stand today, 5 years on, promoting a vision that he passionately believes in and lends his entire weight behind and pulls in resources globally, domestic, and otherwise to ensure that those that we believe in, and which is the project sponsors, get the support they need. And while I invite him to the podium, may I ask all of us to give President Adesina a round of applause. Mr. President.
Now, several months ago, we, the founding partners of the Africa Investment Forum, made the decision to have the 2023 Africa Investment Forum Market Days in Marrakech, Morocco. You all came from around the world, heads of state and governments, ministers, project developers, investors, with one purpose in mind: deals, deals, and deals. Among investors from around the world, we were delighted to also host a delegation of 50 business leaders from Japan, because I had gone to Japan to really get them all excited about investments in Africa, and they had 50 leaders, business leaders from across Japan that came here for that event, for this event. Thank you, arigato gozaimasu. What a commitment we have. Thank you all very much for coming all the way. Morocco is the right choice. Since we arrived in this beautiful city and resilient city of Marrakech, we have been treated to incredible hospitality, to which Morocco is well known. And that hospitality and warm welcome flow directly from the heart of His Majesty, King Mohammed VI. May God assist him. Please, let's recognize that. His Majesty graciously placed this event under his own high patronage. His message to us all said, initiatives such as the Africa Investment Forum are commendable because they help direct private investment towards most promising economic sectors, thus reinforcing the integration of African economies into global value chains. His Majesty said further, I am sure that this year's forum will be even more enriching and that it will send a strong signal to investors as to African countries' commitment to transformative investment to fulfill the aspirations of our continent, our populations, and our youth. What royal blessing. Thank you very much, Your Majesty. Over the past 3 days, that royal inspiration, like renewable energy, powered the discussions of participants at the Palais de Congrès, was transformed into a beehive of discussions, engagements, analysis, and assessments of projects. The opening high-level panel discussion of heads of state and government was so inspiring, showing that the leaders came to show strong support for investments across Africa. The boardrooms were jam-packed. In several cases, heads of state and government chaired discussions of projects for their countries. They were truly there as chief executive officers of their countries, fielding questions and providing assurances and reassurances to investors. Project developers and investors looked at investment opportunities in several areas, including food and agriculture, renewable energy, mining, transport, corridors, aviation, deep-sea seaports, and railways, ICT, digital infrastructure, artificial intelligence, creative industries, and of course, health. Other events we had focused on regional corridors. The Mayors Forum, which was the first time we've had that, they got governors and mayors from across Africa to have events here with us to discuss. We discussed special agro-industrial processing zones. All of these were very exciting and powerful for driving greater investments in transport corridors, urban infrastructure and finance, and of course, in food and agribusiness. And I see Alan Ebobise just walk right in, the Chief Executive Officer of Africa 50. Welcome, Alan. I'm his chairman, and he's doing a fantastic job at Africa 50. We had several developments. I was delighted to sign a letter of intent with the Chief Executive Officer of Mohammed VI Investment Fund, which will invest in supporting the private sector, especially small and medium-sized enterprises, which, of course, is in your domain, Honorable Minister. I can see that you're smiling, you're beaming, all that. That's fantastic from the King to you. And, of course, invest in infrastructure in Morocco, which is a great vision of His Majesty King Mohammed VI. Strong partnerships were forged with the launch of the Alliance for Special Agro-Industrial Processing Zones, with a commitment of $3 billion by partners, including the African Development Bank, Africa Export-Import Bank, the United Nations Industrial Development Program, and ARISE Integrated Industrial Platforms. But it was not just all work, and they always say, all work and no play make Jacks a dull boy, and there are no dull people around this place. So we had some relaxing moments too, just in case you haven't seen that. It means you probably didn't come for the gala dinner night. In between, we had some fun as participants, project developers, investors, and in fact, we were joined by the president and the chair of the African Union, the president of Comoros and his wife, and of course, yours truly. I love dancing. Apart from running the African Development Bank, I love dancing. We jammed the dance floor, to the energy-infusing Moroccan music that was provided for us. The dance moves weren't just for the floor, the dancing floor. The dance move inspires a celebration of our diversity, celebration of our commitment, celebration of our partnerships driven by investment results. This year, along with our founding partners, we had the participation of institutions such as the United Kingdom Export Finance, Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency, MIGA of the World Bank Group, the International Finance Corporation of the World Bank Group, the Saudi Arabia Ministry of Investments, United States Trade and Development Agency, the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, the Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA, and of course the Japan Bank for International Cooperation, among several others. Ladies and gentlemen, we are building a formidable financial powerhouse around investments in Africa. Now, talking of results, it's now time to unveil the results of the Africa Investment Forum 2023 Market Days boardrooms. And I know you're waiting for that. And now it gives me great pleasure to announce that thanks to all of your collective efforts, the Africa Investment Forum 2023 was such an outstanding success. we successfully, can you turn to your neighbor and say we? Yeah, we successfully secured investment interest worth $34.82 billion US dollars. What an incredible achievement in less than 72 hours. I said it when I gave my opening speech. I said, let's do it again. And of course, we did it, and you did it. Thank you very much once again. Ladies and gentlemen, these investments it's not just about the money. It will deliver transformative impacts to the lives of people. That is the bottom line of the Africa Investment Forum, investing to improve lives. So many people, of course, contributed to this great success. The most important, of course, really are you, the participants and the delegates that are here. A very big thank you to all of you. Thank you. A big thank you to our heads of state and government, ministers and government leaders. A big thank you to the project developers. A big thank you to you, the investors. A big thank you to the government and the people of Morocco for incredible support. A big thank you to my own executive directors at the African Development Bank, several of whom participated very actively. A big thank you to the senior management and staff of the African Investment Forum partner institutions, founder institutions, starting with the African Development Bank, all my senior staff and management, and staff, Africa Export-Import Bank, Africa 50, Africa Finance Corporation, Development Bank of Southern Africa, Trade and Development Bank, Islamic Development Bank, and the European Development Bank. Thank you all partners for that.
$34.8 billion in investment interest was generated in 72 hours at the market days of the Africa Investment Forum. Now, this will go a long way to help unlock value chains in key sectors in Africa. I'm Kenneth Momo. Thanks for watching.